20-year-old XXXTentacion killed in an apparent robbery.
XXXTentacion was just 20 years old when he was shot and killed in broad daylight. But in the weeks leading up to his death, he spoke and acted like someone who already knew his time was running out. Between a chilling Instagram Live and a will signed months before his murder, fans are still asking one question. Did XXXTentacion know he was going to die? In the final Instagram Live before his death, X looked straight into the camera and said something that now feels haunting.
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy.
That wasn't a song lyric. That wasn't an interview. That was a 20-year-old talking to fans like he was saying goodbye. And when you pair that with the eerie release of his posthumous music video, Sad, which literally featured him attending his own funeral, and a will he signed months before being gunned down, it starts to look less like coincidence and more like prophecy. On June 18, 2018, XXXTentacion walked into Riva Motorsports in Deerfield Beach, Florida. He browsed motorcycles, spoke with employees, and was spotted by fans. Moments later, as he left the dealership and sat in his black BMW i8, a dark SUV blocked his car. Two masked men jumped out, confronted him, and one of them opened fire. X was shot multiple times and pronounced dead an hour later at the hospital. The shooting looked like a robbery gone wrong, but not everyone was convinced. From the very beginning, fans pointed to signs that XXXTentacion had predicted his own death. The biggest red flag? His final Instagram Live. It wasn't a freestyle. It wasn't some cryptic story post. It was X speaking plainly and emotionally to his followers, as if leaving behind a message in case he didn't make it. In that live, he said,
Worst thing comes to worst, I die a tragic death or something, and I'm not able to see out my dreams. I at least want to know that the kids perceived my message and were able to make something of themselves and able to take my message and use it and turn it into something positive.
That's not something most 20-year-olds say unless they're in serious danger or have already come to terms with what might happen. And he didn't stop there. He added,
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, regardless of the negative around my name.
He wasn't just talking about being famous. He was talking about legacy, sacrifice, and redemption. And he was talking about it in the past tense, like the writing was already on the wall. Then came the bombshell. XXXTentacion had signed a legal will 7 months before his death. According to TMZ, the will was filed in November 2017, long before he would be gunned down outside the motorcycle shop. He named his mother, Cleopatra Bernard, as the trustee of his estate and listed no children, though Cleopatra would later reveal that her son was expecting a child at the time of his death. They will put all of X's assets into a trust and name his mother and 2 brothers as beneficiaries. That kind of preparation is unusual for a 20-year-old, even one with money. Celebrities don't typically draft wills unless they sense danger, and for X, that danger felt increasingly real in the final months of his life. The timing is what fuels the most speculation. His will was signed in November. Then in March 2018, he posted that infamous Instagram Live. 3 months later, he was killed. And just days after his death, his Sad music video dropped, which, bizarrely, featured the funeral of his own self. In the video, X attends the burial of his past self, standing over a casket while a cloaked figure guides him through a transformation. He fights a physical manifestation of his old identity, ultimately overcoming it. Fans were stunned. Was this a planned artistic vision, or was it more than that? Sad was already a hit before his death, but the video added a layer of eerie storytelling. Art imitating life, or life predicting death? In hindsight, it feels like XXXTentacion was trying to control his narrative. preparing the world for what would come, whether he survived or not. And if you listen to how he spoke about death, it wasn't with fear, it was with finality.
Pain is a sign of progress. When you feel pain, there is progress. I love you all.
But why would someone like X feel like death was around the corner? Part of the answer lies in the chaotic, dangerous world he was operating in. At the time of his death, XXXTentacion was awaiting trial for brutally assaulting his ex-girlfriend. The allegations were graphic and disturbing, and public backlash was intense. He had enemies, and he had paranoia. In fact, in 2017, X was attacked on stage during a concert. He frequently said he felt unsafe, distrusted people around him, and feared retaliation from old rivals. His career, while meteoric, was also shadowed by real-life violence. He'd been jumped, arrested, betrayed, and hospitalized. He didn't just sing about pain. He lived it, and he knew the stakes. During interviews, he often expressed regret for his past actions and a desire to evolve. His final months were filled with efforts to give back, hosting charity events, promoting anti-violence messages, and trying to clean up his legacy. It's no stretch to say he saw death coming. The question is whether he accepted it or expected it. Adding to the surreal timeline was the birth of his son, XXXTentacion, who was born in January 2019, 7 months after X's death. He never lived to meet him, but in a strange way, it makes the existence of that will even more chilling. At the time he signed it, X had no public plans for fatherhood, yet somehow he left everything to his family and future. It's like he knew the window was closing and wanted to protect what little he could while he still had time. Then there's the fact that multiple people were arrested in connection with his murder. Daedric Devonshea Williams was taken into custody just days after the killing. Police later named Robert Allen and others as persons of interest. Surveillance footage, eyewitnesses, and social media all played a role in tracking them down. But despite the arrests, the sense that XXXTentacion's death was bigger than a robbery hasn't gone away. Many fans believe it was a targeted hit. Others think it was the culmination of a life lived too fast, too raw, and too publicly. Some even see it as spiritual. The idea that X was trying to outrun karma, only to find himself pulled back into the consequences of his past. Whether you believe he was a troubled genius or a deeply flawed artist, one thing is certain. XXXTentacion left behind more questions than answers. His music continues to chart. His estate has released posthumous albums, and his fan base remains one of the most devoted in the rap world. But the fascination with his death hasn't faded. If anything, it's grown stronger, because his final words, his actions, and his art all seem to whisper the same haunting truth. He knew. He knew something was coming. And instead of running, he left us clues. The strange calmness of his final live stream, the poetic eeriness of the SAD video. The quietly prepared will was filed when no one expected it. These weren't random events. They were breadcrumbs. And when you follow them, they all lead to the same dark, heartbreaking question. How does someone that young, that talented, and that close to chaos look at the future and see nothing? Whether XXXTentacion had a premonition, an intuitive sense of danger, or simply lived each day with a fatalist's mindset, the effect is the same. He left behind a body of work that feels unfinished and yet eerily complete. A voice silenced too soon, but not before it echoed through every corner of his generation. You can dismiss the Instagram Live as a coincidence. You can say the will was smart estate planning. You can argue the sad video was just edgy storytelling. But when you put them all together, the picture becomes harder to ignore. This wasn't just a rapper with talent. This was a young man screaming through his art that he didn't expect to grow old. XXXTentacion wasn't a prophet, but he was a poet. And his final words, his final plans, and his final videos paint the portrait of someone who knew or feared that time was running out. Whether it was a sacrifice, a setup, or just the inevitable end of a life lived on the edge, X left behind a warning wrapped in art. Life is short, legacy is everything. And when the curtain falls, all that remains is what you left behind. For XXXTentacion, that legacy was messy, tragic, beautiful, and unforgettable. If this story gave you chills, drop a comment and let us know. Do you think XXXTentacion knew he was going to die? Was it all just coincidence, or did he see something coming that the rest of us missed? Like, share, and subscribe if you want more deep dives like this. And most of all, keep questioning the stories behind the headlines, because sometimes the truth is hiding in plain sight.